Hey Lawrence, so your video got me thinking about, relationships with people and letting things they do bother you and stuff like that. I'm gonna let you in on a secret. The most important thing that I have learned from my relationship with Joey is this. Nobody is a mind reader, no matter how much you may want them to be. I can be a controlling person. I want things a certain way. I want people to know that my feelings are hurt and I want them to know how to fix it. And that can be tough because people are kind of only in their own head, they're not in your head, and they don't know what is going on. So this realization that no one's a mind reader has led me to be much better at communication. And one of the great things about my relationship with Joey is that we're always upfront about things. It's like, if something's bothering you, tell me. If you don't say anything, I'm gonna assume it's fine. And we're both able to say our feelings about whatever and just know, like, we're sharing it, not with emotional baggage and strings or manipulation or anything like that. We're just saying, hey, it bothers me when you do that. And I think it's super important for any relationship to be able to say, when you do this, it makes me feel this. And this is really more for things that really hurt your feelings or whatever, stuff. But sometimes someone just does something that you think is weird, like waving at a police officer. And although, certainly everything I think is up for discussion when you're friends with somebody, why do you do that? That's weird. And it doesn't have to mean anything deeper than that. But also, I think you have to think sometimes, why does it bother me what this person does and what do I care? And if it is a serious thing, and you tell them, when you do this, it makes me feel this, they can either change their behavior or apologize or whatever. Hopefully they'll say, oh, I didn't mean that, I'm just this, blah, blah, blah. And maybe, having gotten it out of your system, get it out in the open, you can then change the way you feel about it. And I feel like that's sometimes what I do. I'm like, oh, it bothers me when you do that. But then I know that they have a good reason or whatever, so instead of letting it bother me, I know that they know how I feel and I can actually not let it bother me anymore. But sometimes the person is not willing to change or anything. It's not really anything to do with your relationship, so you have to just, on your own, decide to not let it bother you. Or what? It pulls your friendship apart? And I feel like I've always been able to solve disputes with that kind of conversation, it bothers me when you do this or whatever. But sometimes the person is not willing to change, or I don't know, doesn't care about your feelings. That's what I think, doesn't care about your feelings, but that's not always really true. Sometimes a person might be like, well, that's just the way I am, that's who I am. And I don't know, I just don't understand that. I've heard people say this before, it drives my wife crazy when I do this, but I can't help it, it's just what I do. I'll never learn to change. And I'm like, if you love your wife, won't you guys come up with a compromise? How can you disagree? Nope, I'm always going to offend you in this way forever. I will not change. How can you say that? If you want to be with them, wouldn't you change? Or just try to compromise, just figure something out. But then I know there's certainly things in my life, my habits, things around the house, I'm I'll never remember to shut this light off, I just don't. Something like that, And the thing is, in a situation like that, it really wouldn't bother Joey that much. And if it did, I would learn to not forget it or whatever. But it's that's just the way I am, accept me? Is that a good excuse? I guess that might result in you not being friends with that person. That seems sad, but some people aren't meant to be friends, I think, as I've said before. So sometimes it just doesn't work out, and it's so weird. But yeah. Another thing is sometimes, I think this happens with almost everyone I meet. I can be friends with someone or get along with someone, and then as things progress, things come up that drive me crazy about them, and I can't stand it. I'm I can't believe this person does this. And after a while of this happening with people, I realized that's just what happens when you get close to somebody. You see their flaws. Everyone has them. Everyone has their fatal flaw, Hamartia. And you have one yourself too, of course. But just when you get close, that's when you see them. And I realized that that's why people say love covers a multitude of sins and things like that. because everyone has these problems, we all have annoying habits, we all have our vices, but you can't just decide to not love someone or not be friends with someone because of that one thing. I mean, there's exceptions, whatever, but you have to realize that you cannot change somebody. You're not going to change them. You don't really want to change them. They're someone else. They're not you. Sidebar, this is what I learned from Paper Towns too, is like you can't expect someone to have the same reactions and same habits and same mindset as you. They're someone else. Don't try to make them like you. You can't do it. You have to accept people the way they are, everything about them. You can't change them. But there's a difference between changing someone and communicating to them how you feel so that you can adjust your behavior so that you get along better. And I think that's the key here, is like, I'm not trying to change who you are. I like who you are. That's why we're friends. But sometimes certain things bother me or rub me the wrong way, and I'm being upfront about it because your friendship is important to me. But also remember that sometimes compromising means deciding for yourself that this person's friendship, their presence in your life, is more important to you than the things that they are doing that bother you. And that you want them in your life, and that's that, and that's what you decide. And I hope that's what you decide. Lawrence, there's my deep thoughts for the week. I'll see you maybe on Friday, except I probably won't have internet where I am. Anyways, oh, next week starts Festival Theater, so maybe a video, maybe not. Who knows what's gonna happen? Who knows? Okay, bye.